I'm honored to invite up friend and colleague Malik from True Ventures, partner, and founder of GigaOM, and troublemaker, or is GigaOM, and welcome. Thank you for being here. Is that mic on?
I hope so.
Okay, so we're going to do a fireside chat. We're going to ask you, where's the fire? Look, it's red.
No, it's not.
What color is that?
I can't tell.
Are you colorblind?
I am.
You are colorblind. So do you photograph? Oh, you wouldn't know. You photograph in black and white or color?
No. I can see color. Just not. I'm very selective in what colors I see.
So that doesn't sound like you're colorblind. It sounds like you're.
I have selective vision. Is
exactly.
how I like to.
I like that.
Yeah.
I've got selective memory, so maybe that works together.
Well, let's see.
So I'm going to kick it off. Obviously, most of you, if not everybody, knows Om, very successful writer and entrepreneur, now investing from as a partner at True Ventures. But I want to I was looking at your blog yesterday. I've been looking at pictures nonstop all over the place that you've captured and watch them in real time. And I realized, okay, you moved to New York City in 1993 to be a writer.
92.
92, sorry. Maybe
Wikipedia has that wrong.
So. Oh, is that where I got it?
I think
so.
I called you on that.
Thank you very much.
Memory.
I like that.
Yeah.
Selective memory.
Yeah.
So 92. What percentage of your time then was making pictures and sharing pictures versus writing? And then compare it to now.
So I never took pictures till about 3 years ago. I started taking pictures when I got the beta of Instagram. I had never taken pictures before. Like I used to take like some family photographs, but...
Well, did you never take them or never shared them?
No, I never took them.
At all? Interesting.
No, not really, not that interested in taking pictures, because what I really missed, like what I didn't know about pictures was the whole idea of, the emotion involved with the pictures. Because when I was growing up, we weren't very, like my family was pretty modest means, so we didn't really have a camera. Once a year, the family would go to a photo studio and everybody would dress up and that would be the photo of the year, and that's about it. So I have no memories from my childhood and from my teenage years or even from my college years of pictures. Like, you guys all take pictures when you're growing up in this country because everybody has cameras. I didn't. All my memories are in my head. And when I started using Instagram, I realized that, yes, these are pictures, but they're also a daily diary of how I'm feeling and what I'm looking at. And so that's when the pictures became more interesting to me. So they were just telling a story in my head, just like going to the photo studio every year was a moment, right? That was like a memory associated with it. So I think for me, pictures are more about memories which are embedded in it. And so that's when, it's been 3 years, and I've taken about roughly, 50 to 100,000 pictures, and now I keep taking pictures all the time.
So what percent of the time do you go back and look at those?
Not very much. But I do look at my Instagram feed occasionally, and
do you go back through and look kind of curiosity of what you've been up to?
Right, and I would, it would be great, and this is what I keep telling Kevin, that we need a tool where I can actually rewind to where I was in November 2012, right? Like, but it's there, it's documented. I just can't get back to it because it's very hard. So that's why I use, and I have a little bit, I've done some hacks myself to keep going back and trying to figure things out.
So I think we were actually in Europe a while back, and I saw you sometimes capturing images or making images with one app, and then the next app, and then or the camera phone itself. Some you shared and some you didn't. So how do you decide why do you share some and you don't share others?
Some pictures are very private. There are memories which are very private associated with those pictures, and I don't want to share them. And some pictures are just like, I feel a certain way and I want to share it with other people.
Is it like sharing the mood of that time, or is it more about this?
The feeling, right? There's some feelings are private, some feelings are, public, and public also in a social context, not in a marketing context. So for me, sharing pictures is essentially a very much like how I'm feeling. I used to, in many ways, like, sharing pictures is like just so much more fun than writing a blog post. And,
So that's interesting, because relating to before, when you never took photographs and you're only writing, and now more and more of your blog posts are just a photo and some links, or what I'm reading, or, your summary stuff. And do you think it conveys more or less the same as what you used to convey before?
No, I think it's reflective of how we are adapting to a very different kind of an internet, a different kind of a web medium, which is so much more visual now, and it will be increasingly visual. I think as the web gets populated with more and more things, our ability to consume textual information is going to be limited by how much we can actually take in, whereas we can take a lot more visual data very fast and just process it, because that's what we do. That's what we look at this room, make a very careful assessment, who's sitting where, and we can process it in our brain. In text, we have to read it, internalize it, try to put context around it, whereas pictures are just much easier to kind of, capture and store in your head. And that's what, and the web is going that way. And, increasingly you will see more and more things becoming visual. I think this is, people kind of don't talk about this, but Pinterest, the reason Pinterest has taken off is because it is just so much easier to navigate everything and so much faster. It's just a multimodal environment. You can just kind of, in text you have to kind of read, click, go, and this visual is like just one click, and then that's all you really need to do. So I think I'm really excited about the possibilities of a very visual web. And more importantly, visual web has one thing going for it. You don't need a translation. A smile is a smile is a smile in Chinese, a Hindi, Brazilian, a Portuguese, or Latin or English, right? So that's the beauty of pictures, is that the emotion, the payload, the emotional payload of a picture is universal, right? You can always say, there's like, or the red circle with a cross through it means you cannot park it, right? And so it's a visual cue, it's a visual metaphor for language. And I think that's where we are all headed, especially now that the web is a lot more international and more connected.
I totally agree. So, and there's a question or a challenge in there, which we're talking a lot in multiple different sessions today, and you and I talked briefly earlier. So with more and more images, it's harder and harder. You can't see everyone. You can't enjoy everyone. So, how, what would the ideal filters be for you? I mean, you mentioned I'd like to see a picture that happened a year ago. Or tell me a couple of scenarios, like I wish I could see these pictures.
It would be good to kind of go back and forth and to time as to like where my pictures.
So time swiping.
Time. I think you were saying you can't do that. I would qualify as yet. I think the answer for this is an opportunity for somebody to do, right? So it's like, and it has to be done on a personal level. I don't think people like Facebook are able to do it. They can't even personalize textual news feeds to one person. So trying to personalize your photo experience and finding the right pictures and making them correlate with your emotions is not part of the company DNA.
Right.
I think they just do not know how to really think about what might trigger my, brain into that path. So that's an opportunity for startups definitely out there. I think it would be nice to kind of know, where was where did we eat in Copenhagen in 2013? Not at a famous restaurant, but there was some other place where I ate and I can't remember where it was. So now I have to go back into my Foursquare history and my, Instagram history, and I think there needs to be a service which is essentially a rewind on our life. I mean, I would pay for history, right? Like, I mean, if we are creating only digital images and we are not creating photo albums and we are not creating timelines of our life the way we used to, what does the timeline of our life look like, right? That's an app or a service, or, Time Hop is interesting, right? Like, I really like that service. I just don't think they have nailed the experience.
I totally agree, but, what even excites me is, why can't we, if we can go backwards, why can't we go forward?
Right. No. I don't want to go forward.
You don't want to go forward?
No.
You don't want to go check it out?
No. It's like, what's the point? Like, that's the fun of...
So why live in the past? I mean, I'd be curious what's going forward.
No, living in the past is... I'm not living in the past. I'm just...
Experiencing
what... There are memories associated with past, right? Yeah. future is about anticipation. You cannot photograph the future because anticipation is what makes
Not
it
yet.
interesting. Well, I hope not. I'm happy if I'm long gone before that happens because I want to be excited about the future.
Totally agree. Just joking. So, visual communication, we're talking about the visual web, the explosion. We're excited about pieces of it. Others are overwhelming. As far as you with the investor hat, what are the things that excite you the most?
So one of the companies we are invested in is called Storehouse. It is essentially visual storytelling. It's the same concept. It comes from, it's on an iPad, and it takes, multiple forms of media, whether it is photos or videos or even small snippets of text, to tell a story of a place and a time. The idea behind that app was that there is a lot of people taking a lot of pictures, and there are moments which are happening around us, but you can't capture them in words. Like you cannot capture like somebody playing a violin in a like an Italian small town piazza. Just a little, that sound is what makes it more interesting, right? You see the picture and the sound, and then the little movement takes you there. And that's what visual storytelling is. So that is one of my more exciting and more consumer facing investments on behalf of True, and it's called Storehouse. They just won the Apple Design Award for the best designed iPad application for the WWDC.
Fantastic.
And I missed that for you just in case.
You're a good man.
Yeah.
You're a good man. We're very happy you're here.
No, you owe me a drink, that's all.
You can have a couple.
Okay. And the other one is narrative, which Martin spoke this morning. And so I love the idea of capturing your live stream and trying to figure out what really happened. There is, the camera captures things you sometimes don't realize happened, and that is pretty eye-opening. So those are the two major, visual.
So how about those are two perfect examples relating also to this event. Think about a couple years ahead. Are we talking about, do you see opportunities in this machine vision based analyzing, understanding images, to your point earlier, either back in time, or how about in our social graph where we're seeing thousands of images of our friends, picking out unique ones maybe,
right.
Or another use case that you would love to see as a user and potentially an investor?
Right. So, we've done a lot of visual related investments at True. Sophie's company, Neon Labs, is a True company. We have another one called Kicksend, which was doing photo albums and, works with people like Walmart and, Walgreens and stuff like that. And then we also are investors in a company called Smile, which was essentially the third reincarnation of WebShots, which was the original photo sharing service.
Narendra.
Narendra's
trying to do
company.
the three hat.
Yeah, and I would also invested in Daily Booth. That didn't really, realize its true potential because it was, I think, 3 years too early to the selfie revolution. Like right now, selfies is massive. We just came at a time when it was desktop-driven selfies, and that's not really a selfie revolution.
It was what Daily Booth was a photographing yourself via the camera on your laptop, on your webcam, and sharing, and it took off really quickly.
So I think the lessons from all these various companies is, I think I like to think of it as my own personal thesis is that cloud with data on top solving a specific problem is how I think about the world today and tomorrow. And so if I can find, stuff which is like, the data coming off photos and solving a specific problem, that is the kind of thing I'm interested in. I think the other thing I'm really interested in is not just being so dependent on just the visual data, but also looking at other data coming from other sources and combining those and trying to figure out what the world looks like after all those things.
So maybe like combining, you've got calendar, you've got email, you've got other content elsewhere, that you're dealing with every single day, and how does that relate to the images to give us more information, or?
No, I think the more ideal and more prosaic solution for something like this would be like a service which kind of works with, somebody was flying a drone with one of the drone companies to monitor the parameters of a factory or a farm or whatever, and is constantly analyzing that data to see if there are any differences in like if there is a breach or anything.
So you almost, without even knowing, you set us up for one of the startups that's actually presenting this afternoon,
Right.
that's doing that in train stations and airports and analyzing the paths of that. So
I think we will, I don't know what they're doing, but my view is that if you only address a very thin slice of the problem is like very focused, probably more likely to have success, because now it's just becoming much more feasible to do these kind of very specific analysis. And all the speakers have been talking about how much, computer vision and machine learning have improved. And I think that's where we are headed in like 2 to 3 years, where they will be used to solve a specific problem. Like we have another company, I can't announce, but it's in home security, but it is essentially using a lot of computer vision to make smart decisions.
So we're almost finished, and we're going to have you on a panel this afternoon with David Pachman from Venrock and Aronoff from Flybridge. But you're also, for many years, an entrepreneur, built your company up, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs and people that want to build companies in the audience. So what is that piece of advice to them to help them succeed?
So I think somebody before the startups showcase, I think it was Gary who said that things take 10 years. I second that. And anything good, anything worth doing takes a long time. You have to have conviction in what you're doing is right, and being, sometimes it's very challenging to stay focused because the external factors always try to dissuade you from what you think and what the world should look like. I think, and at some point, we all also have to acknowledge that what we're doing is not working. So those are the two major things. It's like
but how do you know when it's not working? I mean, it's always.
I think you have to be an idiot to not know that it's not working. There are things like, I've made many mistakes. I've made more mistakes than I wish to.
Both of us. I'm the same way.
And in every mistake I made, I learned a lesson. And I don't think of that as a failure. I think of it as, okay, that was just a wrong experiment. Maybe I'll try something else. And I think that is where you need to be very self-aware as a founder. Like, you can lie to everybody except to yourself. And a lot of people, I find, don't tell themselves the truth, that things are not working. You can't lie to yourself, man. I think that is what makes you succeed, and that's what makes you fail.
Fantastic. Om,
All right.
thank you very much.
You.
And thank you, everybody. Round of applause for Om.